TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. U.S. President Donald Trump insists that a deal with Iran will either be a great and meaningful one, or there will be no deal. The IRGC's top advisor to the Ayatollah regime's supreme leader warns that if the war resumes, it could lead to a concentrated effort by Iran to achieve nuclear weapon capabilities. And U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio reaffirms Israel's right to respond to any attacks against it, to include incessant belligerence by the Lebanese Iranian proxy Hezbollah. Reports and official statements claiming a tangible breakthrough in talks for a preliminary memorandum of understanding between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have evidently been premature, with the Ayatollah regime backpedaling on any of its commitments to relinquish its uranium stockpiles, while the United States, in tandem, asserting that no frozen Iranian funds would be relinquished to Iran unless the Ayatollah regime abandons the nuclear materials in its possession. In a post on his Truth Social platform, President Trump stressed that he had informed his representatives not to rush into a deal and that time was on America's side. Moreover, President Trump asserted that the blockade will remain in full force and effect until an agreement is reached, certified, and signed. The American leader further emphasized in a subsequent post, quote, "The deal with Iran will either be a great and meaningful one, or there will be no deal." Meanwhile, in a separate post published by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on his X account, the Israeli leader stressed, quote, "I spoke last night with President Donald Trump about the Memorandum of Understanding to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and the upcoming negotiations towards a final agreement on Iran's nuclear program. I expressed my deep appreciation to President Trump for his unwavering commitment to Israel's security, including during Operation Roaring Lion and Epic Fury, when American and Israeli forces fought shoulder to shoulder against the Iranian threat. President Trump and I agreed that any final agreement with Iran must eliminate the nuclear danger. That means dismantling Iran's nuclear enrichment sites and removing its enriched nuclear material from its territory." President Trump also reaffirmed Israel's right to defend itself against threats on every front, including Lebanon. "The partnership between us and our two countries has been proven on the battlefield and has never been stronger. My policy," Netanyahu stressed, "like President Trump's, remains unchanged. Iran will not have nuclear weapons." Turning to Tehran, where the Islamic Revolutionary Guard's top advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, namely General Mohsen Ghazai, has warned the United States that the Islamic Republic maintains its fingers on the trigger, blatantly insisting that Washington should be thankful that the Ayatollah regime is even granting it the light of day.
We have our finger on the trigger for the fourth battle, the fourth Khorramshahr. On the other hand, of course, our officials are also negotiating to precisely restore the rights of the Iranian people. That's the situation we are currently in. This is the final stage, which, by the grace of Almighty Allah, will determine the fate of all these 47 years, ensuring that we will have security in Iran for the next 50 years. You are the ones who martyred our supreme leader and dear commanders. That we are still talking to you, you should consider a valuable opportunity for yourselves.
General Ghazai continued by insisting that Iran had a legal right to manage the Strait of Hormuz, in stark contrast to international law under the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Sea and the preceding 1958 Geneva Convention on the Territorial Sea and the Contiguous Zone. Regardless, the IRGC top advisor to the terror regime's supreme leader emphasized that any military attempt to force the Strait of Hormuz open would drive Iran to abandon the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, in an overt threat to race towards nuclear weapon capabilities.
Security is important to us. Managing the Strait of Hormuz is our legal right. About the negotiations, the Islamic Republic has put the least costly path before you. The Islamic Republic is telling you that if you continue the war, we will make the American people miserable and the American economy miserable. Iran is here for a fair negotiation with you. If you decide to attack the Strait of Hormuz and enter the Persian Gulf, first of all, you will face an exceptionally difficult and painful response. Secondly, we will break the naval siege that we have been patient with so far and have not attacked you. But more importantly, I tell you that we may withdraw from the NPT. Do you know what this threat means? What will happen to you if we withdraw from the NPT? So turn back from this path.
Meanwhile, in India, U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, after highlighting an imminent deal with Iran was in the making, told reporters that negotiations with the terror regime in Iran were still a work in progress.
We're still a work in progress. As I said, we thought we might have some news last night. Maybe today. I wouldn't read too much into it. It takes a little while to hear back. So we have what I think is a pretty solid thing on the table in terms of their ability to open up the straits, get the straits open, enter into a very real, significant, time-limited negotiation on the nuclear matters. And hopefully we can pull it off. It has a lot of support in the Gulf. It has a lot of support globally. Every country that we've walked through it understands it's not just very reasonable, but it's the right thing for the world to get done. As the president said, he's not in a hurry. He's not going to make a bad deal. I mean, the president's not going to make a bad agreement. So let's see what happens. We're going to give diplomacy every chance to succeed before we explore the alternatives.
Secretary Rubio continued by doubling down on President Trump's resolve to guarantee a good deal, particularly vis-à-vis Iran's nuclear ambitions.
Look, the president's not going to make a bad deal. He's just not. This issue, no one has done more, and no one has been more serious about the threat of a nuclear Iran than President Trump has been. And so I'm very confident, and we should all be very confident, that we're either going to have a good agreement or we're going to have to deal with it another way. We'd prefer to have a good agreement.
It is important to point out that circulating reports claim that the Ayatollah regime is seeking to salvage its Lebanese proxy Hezbollah by demanding any final agreement would include Lebanon. However, with Hezbollah persistently violating the ceasefire by repeatedly attacking Israeli military and civilian targets, alongside direct negotiations between Jerusalem and Beirut under Washington's auspices, has triggered evident pushback from the United States.
Lebanon we're working on separately. With Lebanon, we are engaged now. We have a 45-day ceasefire. We've had weekly meetings now and ongoing daily engagements between the government of Lebanon and Israel. The problem is not Lebanon and Israel. The problem is Hezbollah. Just last night, Hezbollah put out a statement calling for the overthrow of the Lebanese government. And it just reminds you of who you're dealing with here. By the way, an Iranian proxy, 100% Iranian proxy. And as long as an armed Hezbollah exists, it's going to be hard to achieve peace in Lebanon. Well, Israel always has a right to protect itself. Every country in the world does. And so if Hezbollah is going to launch missiles or launches missiles at them, Israel has every right to respond to that or to prevent that from happening. That's always been understood. It's being understood during the ceasefire, and it'll now in Lebanon, and it'll be understood beyond that.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. If you would like to help support TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, you can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.